So some of you already know me, and for some I'm new. So I'll introduce myself once again. I'm Madhuri, and I'm a Montessori expert. I have been working with families, schools, and children for over 5 years now. And I'm very thrilled and happy to share that recently I have joined an organization called the Peace Program, where I'm a global facilitator, and I will be running cohorts and working with many other families across the globe. So yeah, very happy and excited to share that with you all. So today's session is about practical parenting for brain development. Today we are going to first understand what is practical parenting, and how does it support the brain development of a child. So, before we start, let me ask you this question. Why does it take forever for a child to do a task? Why do you think that, when you ask the child to do something which you have already done with the child before, still they find it difficult to do when you ask them to do it by themselves? Or sometimes, even if you are trying to collaborate with the child, they still refuse to, or they just don't want to. So why do you think does it happen? Would anyone, I mean, one of it is probably they're confused. Anyone else who would like to give their opinion on it?
Uh, I wonder if they are processing what we are asking them to do, and also the moment at which we ask them to do something. Perhaps they are not in the right frame of mind to be able to
Yeah,
accept what we are asking.
right, right. Yes, exactly. So what you are saying is either it is they're not in the mood, or they lack comprehension probably. Whatever we said, they could not comprehend it at that time, and that is why they took long probably. Or you are saying that maybe they are lacking decision making. They just don't want to, or they just don't know what to do at that point probably. Is this what you are concluding at, Sudhanu?
Yeah, yeah. I largely what you said, Madhuri. I would agree with that.
Okay. So yes, these are true, but why is it true? It's true because the brain architecture of the child is very different from us. It's very different from how the brain architecture of an adult is. Imagine a child born with 300 grams of, brain weight, and then by the time they are adult, their brain is 1300 grams, 1.3 kgs, right? Approximately 1.5 kgs of, brain weight. And how is it happening? It is happening not just because biologically they are growing and they are eating food, so the nutrition is supporting. It's also because of social interaction, primarily because of their social interaction with human environment as well as the physical environment. So now let's understand this brain architecture, the brain architecture of a child versus the adult. So over here, if you will see, at the child's birth, you will see that there are certain points, and there are these wire kind of connections, right? So these points are neurons, and these wire kind of connections, they are axon and dendrites, but basically their role is to connect one neuron with the other to make those firework happening. What is firework? The moment the child experiences something, it starts connecting to the other neurons and reaches the brain, and then the brain starts processing and acquiring that as a skill. So over here at birth, if you will see, there are only sparse connection because the child has just born. I mean, it just came in this world, and they only have auditory, visual, and enough for swallowing the food for their survival. And then slowly auditory because they have to hear to, assimilate their environment, and then see. So yeah, they just have enough skills to survive. And then by the time they're 7 years old, you will see that, if you will see here, there are so many connections. It is looking like a tangled web, right? And imagine in a tangled web, if a person has to navigate from point A over here to point B, do you think it is easy? It is not. For sure, it is not, right? So that is what the child's brain has made so many connections with the neurons that now the child is finding it difficult to navigate from point one to point two. Whereas what happens at this time, as the child is acquiring the skill, the neurons are becoming stronger and the excess connection, which is unnecessary. So here, if you'll see, it's forming connection. Here, this is overcrowded, and these unnecessary connection, which the brain is not using, which the neurons are not connecting with, they die away. And this process is called pruning. And when they die away, what happens is, by the age of 15, you will see that this brain now looks pretty, this connection looks pretty clear. So if you have to navigate from point A to point B, it's not that easy. It's pretty comfortable for you because you have all the connections, you have all the skills, plus the navigation becomes smooth. This is an efficient connection. The overcrowded connection is inefficient but very, very necessary, because at this point the child needs those connection to build themselves. It is just like when you are building a house, you need these bamboo scaffolds to support the structure, and once the building is ready you need to remove it. So you can say that these many connections are necessary because they are scaffolding to develop the skill. So if we want to make an analogy, the child at birth's brain is somewhat like a desert, a sparse barren land, which is very difficult. It's not very difficult to navigate to the town, but it is very challenging for them to go through these thorny bushes and all. Whereas the child, when they are when they are around 7 years, it's like a dense forest. You cannot see the connectivity to the town or the city because it's so dense, right? So the trail becomes very, very challenging for them to navigate, maneuver through. Whereas the child, when they are 15 years of age, the brain is efficient, just like a super highway, where the connectivity becomes so convenient and easy for you, right? Now, at the age of 15, you see it is looking like superhighway. However, this neural connection is still forming, and it is completely formed by the age of 24 years. Having said this, there are few connections still happening because every day you will have some or the other experiences, but it does not mean that it will sit immediately. And that is why we find it very difficult to learn some new skill than the children. So, every time your child takes time to do a task, think about their overcrowded connection, right? Now, why is early experience so potent for the brain, the baby's brain? So, biologists, while their research, found out that animals and humans, they go through critical periods in their early stages. Dr. Maria Montessori also called it sensitive period, and she compared sensitive period with that of a flashlight in dark. So basically, the child will be sensitive to one aspect of the environment, and their entire focus will only be to acquire that particular skill. So for example, you would have noticed also, when children have this sensitivity towards all their body senses, things go in the mouth, or they are touching and then putting it close to their mouth, or constantly watching a mobile or something, because right now they are sensitive towards their sensory aspect. If the child has sensitivity towards language, you will see that they just don't stop talking, they continue talking, right? Similarly, until age 6, they have sensitivity towards cognition, like math skills, reading, writing, and they have motor language and other skills. So from birth to 3, they are highly sensitive towards lot of skills to acquire and internalize it. This is also called window of opportunity. And it's not that this window shuts down after 6 years. It's just that the opening becomes very narrow. So even then they will be acquiring skills, but not at the rate of how much they will be acquiring during this age, this time period. So, as one repeats a skill, why they are sensitive towards one particular skill and why they are repeating? Because only when they repeat, the brain becomes more efficient at using that skill. Why are they talking? They are talking so much so that they become efficient in talking. Why they are walking, even if they are falling, then again standing and then walking, because they want to become efficient in their motor skills, their coordination. So here, let's see the learning curve of a child. Now you see here two pictures. One picture where the child is supported by an adult, and in another picture the child has a pacifier in his mouth and he is inside a crib. Now we'll just try to map how the learning will look for both these children. I would like to show it using this chart here. So on the y-axis you will see it's a skill level, and the x-axis is showing the age of the child, and the blue line is the optimal level, and the orange is functional level. So now let's see this blue line. If you will see, it is very analogous. It's a curvy move. I'll give you an example. Now today we are doing this session on practical parenting for brain development, and you will have a lot of takeaways for sure. Now, when you go in the evening and start discussing about it with your family, not everything you would have, remembered that you learned today in this session, but there will be something that you did. So, what will happen is right now you constructed a knowledge, but by evening you deconstructed it, right? And then again, the next day you are again talking about it, and then again you reconstructed it. Then again there is a digression. So you deconstructed, then again you have reconstructed. So the more you are talking, the more you are exercising or discussing, the more this concept, this knowledge will internalize in you, and you will become, it will become part of you. Whereas today I took this session, and by tomorrow I send you a test on this. Would you be able to give all the answers? Will you remember everything to get 100%? Not really, right? You will be able to give which is functional for you, as in you would have acquired a knowledge which is enough for you at that point of time, right? So just look at this child. This child who is in crib, having a pacifier, you ask them to walk and not give your hand to support them to walk. This child has to walk alone. Imagine this child wobbling, falling, and then probably after some point may not be trying also. And then if you ask this child to carry a tray, for example, it is even more challenging, because right now he wants to just do things which is functional for them, and that is walking. Whereas the child who is supported by an adult, you will see that this child is beginning to coordinate the body much better, because there is a scaffolding. Lot of support is given to the child, and that is the road to mastery. The more the support, the more efficient the brain becomes, because we are supporting them to the road to mastery. And that is the optimal level. Yeah. Now here we'll see what the children, what toddlers are capable of doing. So I just took some videos, downloaded some videos from Instagram handles of few people, and you can actually visit their handles. They are really good and will help you support your children at home as well. So let me play. This is a muted video because the father is mute, so they don't have background music here. Look at how happy she is after wearing her shoes with collaboration. So these videos I downloaded from two people. One is Bringing Up Babe from Instagram, and the third video is from What Dad Did. The first two are from Bringing Up Babe, and the last one is from What Dad Did. And please go through their videos. They are amazing and very, very helpful. Yeah. So you can see the capability of child over here, right? And that is why engage your children in all daily aspects of life. And what are these daily aspects? Dressing, grooming, that is taking care of themselves, going to the toilet, taking bath by themselves, cleaning the house, cleaning their wardrobe, cleaning their play area, cooking. And we are going to talk in detail about kitchen in our next slide. Socializing, speaking, interacting with family members and people who come to our house, our elderlies. Plant care, taking care of the plant, taking care of animals as well. Organizing their own belongings. And of course, you can take your children to store for buying groceries and let them choose what they want to eat. So let them, buy for the family. It will give them, it'll boost their self-esteem to a great deal. So the takeaway over here is this child is a member of your family. Don't treat them as guests. This was told by one of our trainer, Dr. Sylvia Dubovoy. She would say that when the guest comes in your house, you don't let them work. You do things for themselves. And because they are there for some time, but this child is part of your family. Treat them as part of your family. Don't treat them as guests, because eventually they also have to be contributing member of not just the family but the society at large. So yeah, why kitchen is the best laboratory for learning? First, lot of movement, of course. Even if they are arranging groceries in the first video, if you remember, this child, she was putting things in the fridge, right, all the cans. And what was best was that thing, she did not have to go too far. Things were very close to her to put, but then there was movement. The hand was moving, right? She was turning, so her body was used over here. So a lot of movement. Not only movement is everywhere in the kitchen. If you will see, whether it is washing vegetables, washing fruits, cutting, slicing, pouring, all requires movement. Now language, of course, language, everything has name to it. So language is there. Every action has name to it. So of course there is language. If the child is slicing banana, there is a language. Oh, I see you are slicing a banana. You are using a crinkler cutter to slice the banana. So there is so much interaction happening and so much language is going through the work that the child is doing. Order. Now, if you will see, when we are cooking vegetable, or even if we are peeling just a banana, there is an order, right? We cannot slice the banana with the peel. We first peel off the banana, and then we place it in a cutting board, and then we slice it. Then we keep all these slice pieces in a bowl. And then we remove each thing one by one to the respective place for washing or whatever, and then the peel goes in the compost. So there is an order. If you will see, even when we are making curries, we first put oil, let it heat, and then we are, sauteing onion and then vegetables. So the addition also has an order. So everything has order, and it gives a very good sense of intuition to the child. Senses, yes, there is so much sense in terms of smell, in terms of texture, in terms of you know hot and cold, rough or gooey. There are so many, and again there is language in all sorts of senses, right? The smell of coriander is different from the smell of curry leaves, right? So, or mint leaves. So there is so much of senses, opportunity for senses, development of senses in kitchen, right? Spatial relationship, of course. um, if you have to put certain things, you cannot pile up things on top of each other. The child needs to build that intuition to keep things in proper places so that they are not cluttering, right? So it gives them spatial awareness, one, not just for the objects to be kept in proper places, but also their own body. If they want to wash their hands and moving close to the sink, either they will wet themselves if they're moving too close, or they won't be able to wash their hands if they're too far. So there is a spatial awareness, right? So there are so a lot of, and as the children grow, for example, if they are 6 and above, and or maybe a teenager who wants to cook, if they are very close to the gas and they are trying to put vegetable in hot oil and they just throw it, then the oil will fly on us, right? But when we are doing it slowly, we are safe, right? So there is a lot of spatial awareness that is developed in kitchen. Details for tiny objects, yes, whether it is poppy seeds, mustard seeds, or it is potato, or it is turmeric powder. There are so many tiny things, and children are fascinated with tiny objects, and kitchen gives a lot of opportunity for that. Mathematics, of course. I mean, if a child is baking a cake, you cannot have 1 cup of jaggery and 1 cup of ghee and 1 cup of flour and then 1 cup of soda, right? There is certain ratio for soda and jaggery or flour. You cannot have entire bottle of vanilla essence in the cake. So there is a ratio and proportion that the child is learning, which is again developing intuition. When we are asking the child to sort the vegetables in different compartments, again there is sorting. So there is a lot of what do you say, mathematical skills developing from very early on. Also, kitchen is a place where you can introduce so much history, so much biology. um, potato is a stem vegetable. What a root vegetable. As children grow 6 and above, you can talk about these things, and trust me, when children are fascinated about the facts of these vegetables, they are more interested in trying them. So if you have a fussy eater, please bring them inside the kitchen and see the magic. um, Also, you can talk about the history. For example, India's actual staple food was sweet potato, and Britishers brought potato in India, and now it has become staple food. So there is so many things that you can introduce to the child: where the turmeric is coming from, what are seasonal fruits, lot of things, lot of knowledge just inside, and that is why it is the best laboratory in the world. Grace and courtesy. When you have prepared food, obviously it needs to be put out for meal time. So you are setting table, and then you are putting out plates for everyone, you are arranging everything, one you are serving for them, right? The children are also participating in serving, so engage them in all this, and then they are learning the social etiquette during meal time. Some families pray before eating. So these are grace and courtesies that children are developing in the kitchen. So it is a great opportunity for sensory, movement, language, and cognitive development. That is the takeaway. Okay, so here we are with our next slide. An accessible home creates strong brain network. The first one is floor bed. If it is on the floor, it becomes easy for children, and you are also pretty relaxed because stress-free, because you know that your child is safe there. The next is low shelves. Yeah. So you can have either a low shelf for children to put out things, or sometimes I also suggest parents to just put out a runner and put few toys for children, or maybe a basket with three or four books. Some of my friends have also used their lower shelf of their TV unit to keep the children's toys over there. So something which is accessible for a crawling child as well as a toddler. Step stool. So steps to the in the last session also, when I was taking on toilet learning, I was talking about the impeccable paramount benefits of step stool. It makes the child's life very smooth, very comfortable, stress free, and functional. It's very helpful for their functional development. Okay. So even whether they are in the kitchen or they are in the bathroom or they are somewhere where the things are a little higher for their reach, step stool is the magic key. Yeah. The next is accessible wardrobe. So again, here they have the picture shows the child's own wardrobe, but you can again have your own wardrobe with the lower shelf used only for children, with only few sets of each clothes, whether it is underwear, not more than 3 to 4 sets, pants, not more than 3 4 sets. Either you can fold and keep it, or you can keep them in separate baskets, because then it becomes easy for children to sort things out and then figure out what to choose from. Eating corner. Eating corner. We usually have now low chairs for children in our environment, so you can use a table and a chair for them. If they have siblings, then you can have two chairs where they are sitting together and enjoying their meal, or you can keep a corner for eating on floor as well, or you can have high chair where children can sit with you and join the meal time. Toilet area. We have extensively discussed on toileting, so we can have potty chairs stationed in the bathroom or in a living room, but not really mobile. It should be stationed in a place, or a potty seat. So that, and then if it is a potty seat, then a step stool for children to climb up and sit by themselves independently. Now here, we want to see what happens, the movement and cognition. How does they go together? They are like best friends. So I'll show here this video of this baby. He was around 7 8 months while he is just rocking back and forth. And now this child is 11 months old. Can you see the video? I think
the second one was not.
I thought so. I'll just play it here from the video directly so that you can see. So if you see here. Yeah, so this child, he is just in 4 months' time, from 8 months to close to 12 months, he can climb the stairs like a pro. So that is the power of, cognition along with the mind, with the movement. So you will see that most of the time we find it very tough when our children are hyperactive, um, because it's very difficult to control them, of course. However, active children have their brain size increasing in areas which supports their cognitive flexibility and reinforces their learning and also increases their memory. So think about, if you are worried about your child being active. Now, social emotional learning, let's understand what is social emotional learning. Social emotional learning is not just, our children interacting with new people outside of home. Social emotional learning is also interacting with us in the family, our own children interacting with us. Imagine if we are not interacting with the child and expecting the child to respond with emotions that the child doesn't even know. For example, the child is crying, and the child doesn't know whether he's crying because he's hungry or sleepy or just tired, right? Unless and until we do not give the language to the child and make them understand their emotion, how do we expect that the child can, share his emotions with us? One, sometimes the child is upset with something, and the only way the children, respond to their discomfort or their unhappiness is when they are in the form of either aggression, or they will cry, or they will throw things, right? And many a times, I mean, I will not say that I am a perfect human, because we all come with our own, childhood baggages, but many a times we do lose it, isn't it? And then instead of talking to the child, we start admonishing the child, or sometimes we unknowingly give them consequences which are not natural. So it is basically a very subtle form of giving punishment to the child. So the best way to understand and build that bond with the child, for them to become socially strong beings, is serve and return. So if the child is angry, we do not, say, oh, why are you angry? It's okay, right? Instead, we say, oh, I see that you are angry. Sometimes when things don't go my way, even I get angry. But I realized that being angry does not help me. So, what you did over here was, you gave your perspective. You did not force the child not to be angry, and you let the child understand that it is okay to be angry, but then rationalize whether this anger was important or not. Okay, so what is this kind of serve and return supporting the child with, and how can we, help the child here? We can, as I said, we can share our feelings. So generally I would do at home is, night time is our sharing time just before sleeping. Even though my daughter is 10 years old, and this has been the practice from the time she was very young, we would talk about what I did, what she did, and also I speak about things that made me unhappy, things I was thrilled about, things, I was tired with. And then, because I have given examples of my own experiences to her, eventually she also starts sharing about things with the same emotion. So if she felt unhappy or if she felt tired, she would say, yes, mama, I was playing badminton and then my leg was hurting. I realized because I was tired, right? So this is sharing feelings, and it's good to do this every day. Collaborate for chores. As we have discussed earlier, also collaboration does wonders to the child's mastery of a skill. So we must collaborate with them. Take them to the park and then again talk about it. Talk about what you are seeing, what the child is seeing, and then have those discussions. Let them play, be part of their game. Do the animal and plant care together, and children learn to, understand that they are part of this nature and they have to value the nature, because respect and value the nature as much as the nature is respecting us for our survival. respectful to others. Most of the time, the way we respond to people around us, children pick that up and they also respond the same way. So in many houses in a joint family where you have a lot of servants and we call, hey Ramu, come here, the child also picks up. And then, he's also using, and then when we say, no, 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 you should not say Ramu, you should say Ramu, uncle, the child is like, why? He is being treated that way. So we have to again model it. So yeah, role of we in our children's life is very, very critical. So there is this researcher in neuroscience, Mary Helen Nemordino Yang. She says that all learning is inherently social and emotional. Language is an important part of life, and reading is very, 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 very important skill, because again it develops their cognitive efficiency. So what kind of reading increases cognitive efficiency? Each child, each age group has different criteria, but for a young child who is below 6 especially, in fact I would say below 7 8 years also, try to have books which has very less text and more of illustration. So you can, when you're reading to the child, you can talk a lot about illustration and see what their creativity comes out with when they are interacting. It should be realistic, especially for children below 3. Please ensure that it is realistic, because children below 3 still do not have the understanding or the different understanding of difference between fantasy and creativity and imagination. So if they have seen a dog talking, they think that the dog may talk, and that is why this play pretend, where teddy bears become their children or teddy bears become their family, it's very common if they have seen this. Okay. As I said, far from fantasy, avoid text with rhyming words. So if it is it's rhythmic, it's poetic, children love that. They love when the verses end with rhyming words. Avoid having too many pages. Children do not have longer attention span, so they may lose interest, and we will be this has happened with me. I got a book, I think it was Panchatantra or Bosky's Panchatantra, I don't remember, and it has illustration, it has less text, it has rhyming words, so I was like, perfect book for my daughter. But it has 150 pages, and I was like, I just want to finish it now. So I will be like, Kashika, we'll do 20 pages. She's like, no. I said, okay, 15 pages. No. 10 pages. No. So I realized that for a day, 5 to 6 pages for her. And I learned to become a patient. And now I think at the age of 10 is only when she started reading and finished by herself. So yeah, try to avoid book with thick pages. And whatever language you speak at home, if you can get books in those languages, it will be phenomenal for the child's cognitive development. Now, here are the recommendations for book. If you will see here, I'll be sharing this slide with you so that you can use it as your reference for buying books. For 0 to 3, if you will see, these are all realistic books. For 3 to 6, yes, they are realistic, but there are a bit of imagination as well. And then you have some authors that I have recommended you can follow. Julia Donaldson is amazing. Eric Carle, I'm sure everybody has heard of. Axel Scheffler is amazing. Then Dinah Hutz Aston is really good. And then some Indian publications like Tulika and Pratham, CBT, NBT, you can go and buy any of their books. They are really relevant for our children, and they have their age categories there, so you can pick one from there, and they are pretty relevant and decent books for our children, and culturally very appropriate as well. Now, we spoke about cognitive skills. We spoke about how kitchen helps in maths. We spoke about language development. We spoke about science and history, right? In kitchen again. So now let's see what happens if we introduce music from birth. There is this neuroscientist, Dr. Patricia Kuhl, and while researching in the field of language and its impact on brain development, she also came across how music develops the brain. We all know that music is good for the child, But why is it good for the child? Have we ever wondered about it? Music is good for one of the important reasons, that is, music has rhythm and pattern. Anything that has rhythm and pattern has a set predictable, form. So it is predictable. If you know, if there is a beat, for example, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, there is a beat and there is a pattern. So automatically, the child's brain is such that the child can pick up this predictability in the form, any art form. And it's also because the child is born with mathematical mind, it helps in their intuition. So music supports this predictability, and predictability helps in learning and acquiring the skills faster. It has been observed that children with even ADHD, if they are introduced at a very young age to music, they have phenomenal growth. I mean, there is this international educational consultant, Sir Ken Robinson. If you get time, please watch his TEDx talk called Education Kills the Creativity. He is talking about this lady who was diagnosed with hyperactivity. At that time, ADHD was not invented. So basically, the school said this child is not ready for learning and you take her out. And the mother was very upset. She took her to the psychologist, the psychiatrist, and psychiatrist observed her body and figured out that she loves dance. And he said, teach her dance. And now she is running one of the very, very famous dance institute in UK. So you can imagine what music does. Music does not mean just singing saregama. Music means musical instruments and any other art form which has pattern, predictability. So what is it doing? It improves their cognitive function, it strengthens their vision and auditory system, because you have to, if you are learning dance, then definitely you can pick up the movement only when you are seeing. If you are learning music, then your auditory system has to be perfect, so it's developing that. It helps memory system, because and I think you would have felt also, sometimes some songs remind you of certain events, right? So what music does is it helps you create emotional tag, cognitive tag, contextual tags. So there are different tags that the brain makes, and that is why you can easily map certain event with certain things, right? And that is why music helps in the development of memory. It helps in balance of body and coordination. Even if the child is learning veena, violin, or harmonium, there needs to be coordination. It moderates our emotional state. When even if we are frustrated, when we start listening to a rhythm, it automatically calms ourselves down. And it helps in speech and language, of course. It helps in problem solving, as I said, because there is a pattern, a set pattern. It becomes easy for building an intuition to solve a problem. So musical experiences in early childhood helps our brain to be healthier into our later lives. Now, activities definitely should be given, but with freedom and limits. We have to give children certain freedom, but there should be certain limits as well, for children to understand that we live in a society and there are respectful boundaries to be followed, so that everybody can coexist in a healthy environment. So, what kind of freedom can be given to the children? Let them choose their own work. Let them work at their own pace, and let them repeat for as long as they need. It is okay if you feel frustrated and the child is not, but it is necessary for his cognitive development. Let the child work with the thing for as long as they need, not want, need. Limits. So the children must be stopped from doing anything which is dangerous, destructive, disrespectful, or demeaning. I mean, throwing things on somebody, or biting, that is disrespectful, right? Slapping or hitting somebody is disrespectful. So we should make sure that children do not do this. These are the limits we need to maintain. Destructive, like throwing things, as I said. Or, yes, children can walk on a trail, but climbing a dangerous tree is something we must avoid them to do. It is dangerous and destructive both. So, yes, for all this, by now, we have seen that our support is critical. It's pivotal in child's development that we should understand what their brain is, how it is developing, and then based on our understanding, we need to support them. So, how can we support our children? First, by being role model, trying as much as possible to be compassionate, gracious, and be courteous in our behavior with others and ourselves as well. Because first we need to accept ourselves and then only we can accept others. So, being accepting of our personality with faults and with good things as well. Establishing a predictable routine with consistent order and limits that we have already discussed in the previous slide. Be kind and firm. Now, recently I was asked, what is this? What is the meaning of being kind and firm? So, for example, if your child is doing a work that you think is not necessary for him to do at that point of time, for example, it's his sleeping time, but he is busy painting. So, there are two ways to say the same thing. The first one is, why don't you go to your bed? It is your sleeping time. Go to your bed, right? That is one way. The other way is, I see that you are very interested and involved in this painting, but I'm sorry, this is your bedtime and we have to just close it now and move to the bed. We said the same thing, but the way we said was different. So, the second way of communicating to the child, where we are telling that, see, I understand, but then this is what we have to stop at this point, is being kind and firm. You told him that this is the rule at this point of time and this needs to be done, but with a very, very kind language. And then, most important is observing them, recognizing and understanding their behavior. Support them when we are showing them something or offering them some kind of challenge, whatever challenge it can be. It can be walking a trail, walking a zigzag or a maze or anything, or even today they knew how to fold their clothes, and then tomorrow you are asking them to put it for drying, then taking it from the dryer and then again folding it. So you are extending their challenge. Encourage and protect their concentration. If the child is focused in something, give them some time and secure their concentration. That will help their brain development. Offer help and intervene only when necessary. If the child falls down, first observe if it is really necessary to run to the child, or let them try to stand up by themselves. The moment we run, the child thinks probably something bad has happened and then they start crying. And the next time, even before they have fallen, they will start crying because they might have just twisted their leg. So we have to be very careful of giving help more than necessary and redirect these children against things that are not skillful, like throwing tantrums, if they are under stress or if they're showing some kind of aggression. Try to help them channelize their energy in all the list of activities that I have suggested over here, and trust me, it calms them down. I can give you this example in learning development. When my daughter started her badminton, she was 6 years old, and there was this another child who joined at the same time, and they were given this shuttle feeding. I could see that my daughter could hit around 9 shuttles out of 10, whereas this child could only throw, and he was, I think, 7 or 8, he could hit only around 2 to 3. Why do you think did that happen? It was because of hand-eye coordination issue. So what I realized, and I did not realize it at that point of time, but now I know, because she was doing so many house chores that her body was coordinated and her mind was focused every time the shuttle was coming to her racket. So please preserve their concentration and support them and see what is necessary for their help. Do not over intervene, but also intervene if it is necessary.